welcome to North Star Stamper. Welcome to my latest episode of Frugal Friday. Let me find myself. Here we are on my computer that I have muted so I can see how my video looks, and my video disappeared. Hold on, let me find myself. So hopefully you know that I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Minnesota, and I go by North Star Stamper. Again, Susan Kramer, there are 3 of us now, so hopefully you find the right one. And I have my own website, North Star Stamper. I am adding more and more every week to my personal website. I talk about paper pumpkin, so you know what's coming up with that. I talk about what I'm offering right now. I'm doing free with purchase, so you get card kits, and I change that every week. So if you order $35 from me at northstarstamper.stampinup.net, I will send you card kits, and those I feature on my northstarstamper.com, so you can see what you're going to get as my thank you for ordering with me. And if you have questions, reach out to me at susan@northstarstamper.com. Thank you for joining me. So Frugal Friday. We've talked about paper a little bit. We will talk about paper a lot more in coming weeks. And we have talked about punches or dies, getting more out of those. Today we're talking about inks. So I'm just going to start. So I have this sample here, and it's warped because I wasn't thinking ahead, and I didn't use thick weight cardstock here. So I do have some thick weight cut today. So to create this one, of course, that's pinks. I think it was Blackberry Bliss and Fresh Freesia. I always want to know what colors other stampers are using, so I try to do the same for you. So I'm going to we're going to make a smaller sample here. I'm going to take a small block, and this is the same one I use. This is our A block. I think this one's still available. If not, use whatever blocks you have. I like the smaller one so I can get more colors on it. And I also have a water Stampin' Spritzer here filled with water. You can see my W there, because I do have one filled with alcohol as well. The alcohol will dry more quickly, but I am not in a well-ventilated space. I'm in a basement, and so I don't like using alcohol that often. So I'm going to stamp once, and we'll do it in the other corner too. And I get interesting splotches there, so I'm going to do that a few times. So this is how my idea for today came to be. Instead of cleaning off my block on my chamois here, I am going to clean it off on a piece of cardstock. So instead of, either cleaning it off on this or on my chamois, I'm going to use that ink again later instead of throwing it away. Look at all the ink that I have on my chamois here. And that's normally how I clean my stamps, but sometimes when I'm thinking ahead or I'm doing a lot of background papers, I will put my excess ink on a piece of cardstock. And I'll show you what I do with these in a few minutes, so stick with me. So I'm not going to clean my block off here. I cleaned it off on this because there was water on there and I didn't want to get water on my ink pad. So I'm going to do that a couple times. This is Azure Afternoon. I think I forgot to tell you that. Again, I'm spritzing it with water. Oops. And we'll put one here and one here. And then clean it off on here. Because I am switching colors, I do want to make sure every little bit of Azure Afternoon is off of that block. And you can see where this is going. Next, I'm going to use Blueberry Bushel. I'm in a blue mood. So I'm going to ink my block up with Blueberry Bushel. Spritz it with water. I have it on this just so I don't make such a mess of my glass mat. And I'm going to put this right here and another one right there. And again, because there's water on here, I don't want to go directly to my ink pad again. I'll add water to that. So I'm going to clean it off on here. And then we're going to do that one more time, and you get the idea. Spritz, and we'll put that one there, and we'll put that there, and I can slide it. And again, I'm going to clean off my block and get all the ink off there that I can. I see a little bit there on the edge. All right. So that's one idea. Using your inks for backgrounds. I find that so much fun. So much fun. Okay, let's do something else. So I made this background the other day, well, a couple weeks ago, and I didn't like it. And I'll show you how I got to this one. Okay, let me go back to this one real quick. So I haven't decided if I'm going to stamp small images in each of these blocks, or if I'm just going to use it as a background and stamp in the middle for a simple stamping card. I could put, you know, a colored, use a piece of fresh freesia and die cut or punch it to create a focal point, or do it this way and put flowers there. I haven't decided what I'm doing with this. So again, NorthStarStamper.com is the place that I will share what I do with that. Okay, so my background here, let's get this cleaned up, put back away. I used boho blue, and I used this big stamp or block, but I have smaller pieces of paper today, so you'll get the idea. Let's use this block. I think that'll fit perfectly. So I had boho blue on my block. I inked it up really well. And I'm going to put this away. And I don't want to spritz on my card. So let's get this out of the way. And I spritzed my block. And I had a card layer that I want like this. Actually, I must have had less ink on it. And I didn't really like the looks of that. Again, I was about to clean this off on my chamois. Let's not. Let's put it on here. Use that ink. I know our refills aren't that expensive, but still. Use the ink. Use the ink. All right, so I didn't really like the background I had here. Let me clean up a little bit better here. Where is my... I will just use a paper towel. Clean up the water because I don't want everything to get wet. So what I did was... and I don't know if I have the same colors here. Yeah, I do. So that was boho blue. And I didn't like the color of it. It just was not what I was looking for. So I used Post-it notes to block off my... You can see this is actually the one I used. So these are like a mask. Because I only want... This is Summer Splash. And I added Summer Splash quite dark using a blending brush. Again, another use for your inks. So inks are for much more than just stamping. Let me add some more. I want you to see how I did this. There we go. Take off the masks. And obviously, I use these again and again. And that is how I got my background. And once this dries, it'll look more like this. So that was my background here. And I just put it aside. And then I needed a background for my card, for my birds here. And I just used that piece. So just because you don't like how something turns out, put it aside. Maybe you'll come up with ideas. You can add color to it. You could stamp on it. You could emboss it. All those other things you do with paper in general. Likewise, if you have a patterned paper that you don't like, try playing with it, stamping on it, embossing it, tearing it. That could be interesting. I do have some great ideas coming up for using your scraps of pattern paper. All right, one more thing here. Petunia Pop. We're going to add ink to our glass mat. If you don't have a glass mat, when I talked about the glass mat several weeks ago, I showed you how you could make your own mat of sorts. I used saran wrap. I know that's a brand name. I don't know what the non-brand name of saran wrap is. And I put it on a heavy piece of cardboard. You could just use a piece of glass. Go to the Dollar Tree, and for $1, I'm sure you can buy a frame that has a piece of glass in it. Careful of your edges. You don't want to cut yourself. And use that as your glass mat. I have been loving the glass mat. It makes things very, they stamp so nice. Okay, So when you get a photopolymer stamp, this is the Simple Birthday. It's in the mini catalog. Our photopolymer stamps come like this with 2 pieces of acetate. One's really thin and one is thicker. And the idea is that you would take it out of here and actually adhere it into your stamp case. So then we have these pieces of acetate that are kind of left over, but we're going to use them. Again, ink. Azure Afternoon, Petunia Pop. Oops, I just broke my spritzer. Spritzer with water. I think I've shown you this before. Thick white cardstock. I'm going to pick up ink with this and lay it right on there. Pick up ink. We're going to turn it around. And if I don't get too heavy-handed, they won't bleed into each other. This is really fun. I'm really liking this one. Again, Azure Afternoon and Petunia Pop. So then, you can keep going. Again, ink on here. It's all wet. I need to put that aside. You know what? I kind of want more on this. You can decide where you want it. If you don't like the white in the background, I would use a very, very pale Azure Afternoon or some other color to color in that background. Let's put that over here. Again, this is ink. I don't want to waste it. So we are going to put it, let's see. You can see I have all kinds of colors on here. So I'm going to put it right on here. Clean off my acetate. And I will show you what I do with this. I have pink and blue, and I have pink and blue here. So I'm not going to use a paper towel to clean this up. I'm going to use this cardstock. Don't waste your ink. One more time. You can see there's a very, very tiny little bit left. Now I'll go in with this. I feel like I'm not wasting ink that way. And a paper towel to dry it. All right, so one last thing. So what do you do with this? Or you don't have to use white. This was petal pink and browns. Or just blues. I'm making a card swap with this stamp set, and I'm using this leaf and this straight with the leaf. Obviously, those will be in green. You better believe I'm going to start a new one of these that's just green. And so I've been wondering what this would look like. You know, I have my splotches from cleaning up my inks. What if I, instead of cleaning my block off on here when it gets too messy, what if I clean it on here and then I have a whole bunch of stamp images? So stay tuned for that. Again, that'll be on my blog weeks from now because I'm just working on my swaps this weekend. So cleaning up your inks. And then what do you do with these, right? I have, you can see I've punched. So the background was two-tone brown. I want to say it was basic beige and crumb cake, or basic beige and pecan pie. And I didn't like the background. So I ran it through an embossing folder, hopefully. Oh, yeah, you can see that. I ran it through my weave embossing folder. I forget what it's called. And then I used a blending brush with brown ink, pecan pie, and just made that weave much more noticeable. My flowers are from this one and another one that I had swiped ink pads on. And I just punched them with centers on there and then a die cut for the stem. I think it's very lovely. So this is what the kinds of things I do with these papers. I have other ideas. Here's another one that I had ink just like I showed you. And here are things that I've made with them. So I picked up the pink and the blue in my flowers, blue leaves. I thought that was kind of interesting. And I think this is one of my favorites. So I had, again, 2 different blues, and I don't remember what they were. I should write them down, shouldn't I? I'm pretty sure that's blueberry bushel. I don't remember what the light one was. But that's my card. So that's what I do with my background. So it's really fun. Use those inks in lots of different ways. This is nice and dry now. Thank you for joining me. Happy stamping. And I'd love to see what you do with your ink pads. And don't wash it all away. Use it, use it, use it. That's why you bought it. Hopefully you love the colors you have, and you'll make wonderful things too. Thanks for joining me. Take care.